Here we have Giant-Man and the Wasp out of packaging. The Wasp is an absolute knockout. Giant-Man, Hello guys, it's Alan the Collector, and today we've got a special one. We're taking a look at the Marvel Legends Avengers Giant-Man and Wasp 2-pack. Now, I'm really excited to have this 2-pack in hand. When Hasbro Pulse said it was in stock, I wasted no time and I ordered this bad boy with Bad Girl. And I must say, I'm really digging the presentation. This is part of the Marvel Legends Beyond Earth's Mightiest subline, and as such, we are getting classic renditions of both Giant-Man and the Wasp. And as you can see, we are also getting the return of window box packaging, and so we can see everything that this set includes. When we flip it around to the back of the packaging, we get a nice group shot of the Avengers from the comic, and then we also get a small read-up for Giant-Man and the Wasp. When we flip it around to the side of the packaging, we just get some images pulled from the comics, and when we flip it to the other side, it's just the reverse of that image. At the top of the packaging, we just get a logo celebrating 60 years of the Avengers, the bottom legalese. But we didn't come here to ramble about the packaging, just the figures inside, so let's not waste any more time and crack these figures open so we can see if they live up to their larger-than-life reputations. And here we have Giant-Man and the Wasp out of packaging, and I have to say, first impressions, the Wasp is an absolute knockout. Giant-Man, but they do come with a few accessories, so let's take a look at those first to see if it does anything to spice these two figures up. Now, I don't know if this spread of accessories really justifies the $50 price tag.
No, it doesn't.
But we do get a pair of hands each for Giant-Man and the Wasp, an alternate Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne head sculpt, two different shaped beakers, a pair of wings for the Wasp, a lab coat for Giant-Man, and then finally a mini Quinjet and a data pad accessory. Now, getting back to these two figures at hand, we're gonna save the best for last, so Wasp, I'm sending you on a mission so that now we can focus on Giant-Man. And I have to say, I'm not really impressed. Starting with the good, let's take a look at his head sculpt. It is amazing. It looks just like what we're gonna get with the Giant-Man Haslab. I like the stern expression that we're getting. We have some digital printing for the eyes, and I like how his exposed flesh is actually a separate piece, which gives the illusion that he's actually wearing the mask. This would not have come out as clean if this was painted on. I also really dig this hint of a 5 o'clock shadow for the exposed skin. His antennas also came out really clean because they are also a separate piece. We get some white paint for the side details of this mask, but we are seeing some of that red poke through. It's like the paint either didn't get through it well enough or it got kind of scratched up when it went into the packaging. I do like this vibrant red that we get for the main body of the figure. I like the matte finish that we're getting, so it really does a good job of absorbing light, and the light that is reflected just helps accentuate the detailed sculpt here. But as far as the first of my gripes, look at these black straps here. They're painted on, and I have to say, it's kind of a lazy effort. And just so you guys understand what I mean about how lazy these painted on black straps are, take a look at their most recent Hawkeye figure. His straps are molded on in a separate purple plastic, and it does such a good job of making it look like he's actually wearing these things without limiting his articulation in any way. And they could have done the same thing here with Giant-Man. His arms are molded in that same red plastic, and I must say they did a great job of making sure that this blue paint here on the forearm matches the blue plastic of his hands. I do like this metallic gray belt that we have here. It's a separate floating piece. His trunks are molded in a separate blue plastic, which really lends itself well to the clean look of this figure. And then we get more of that red plastic for his lower legs. His boots here are molded in blue plastic, and then this triangle pattern in red is actually painted on. And you can tell. It doesn't quite match the color of the plastic for his upper legs, and we can still see some of that blue plastic coming through this red paint, which is not a good look. Now, as far as his accessories go, let's start with the hands that he includes. They're basic style posed hands. He comes with two of them. I'm really disappointed he doesn't come with an extra fist, especially considering the $50 price tag for this set, but they will swap on very easily if you've ever had a Marvel Legends. There we go. And pop this on. He looks pretty decent with them. Next up, we have his lab coat. Would have really benefited from a bendy wire, but it doesn't have one. And honestly, this thing is a nice to have, but not a need to have. I could have done without this if it meant we could have gotten literally anything else. But it fits on him pretty well. No, we just put these on, but when you pop his hands off, I just find that it's a little bit easier for him to get this lab coat on. There we go. Pop this hand back on, and this one time we're gonna go with a more gripping hand. It fits a lot better than I was expecting. If we want to go ahead and complete this look, we can remove his head and add on the Hank Pym head that comes included in the packaging, And I must say, another great head sculpt from Paul Harding. If I did have one nitpick, I would say that his head sculpt here is a little bit wider than the masked head that he comes with. Anyway, it's decent. He has a nice stern expression. We get digital printing for the eyes. I like this subtle 5 o'clock shadow that we get around his mouth. I also like that his hair sculpt is a separate piece and it's molded in yellow plastic, but then we get some nice dry brushing of oranges and brown just to help give it some extra texture and color. Now, for those of you who are curious, this Hank Pym head sculpt will fit on that retro Ant-Man we got about a year ago. Oh, there he is. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna pop that off, put him down, and let's extend our miniature friend here and then pop this one on. And with minimal effort, you can actually use that Ant-Man head sculpt as a separate accessory as if Hank Pym took off his helmet after returning from a trip to the quantum realm. But right now, Giant-Man's body is looking kind of limp, so what we're gonna do is pop this head back off, put this Ant-Man head back on, and let's return Hank Pym back to where he was. All right, Ant-Man, your services are no longer required. And then taking a look at the last of Giant-Man's accessories, we have this circular bottom flask and this conical flask. They have a plastic bottom insert to illustrate the liquid that's inside of it, and then they have some peg holes for some blast effects if you have those lying around. Now, unfortunately, he's only going to be able to hold one of these at a time because he only has one gripping hand. He holds it well enough, but then like I said, this other more open hand, it's not gripping anything. This 2-pack is $50. He should have came with a full set of hands. And then finally, let's take a look at Giant-Man's last accessories. Here we have this data pad, and then we also have this miniature Quinjet. This data pad we've received before with the AIM scientist. It's molded in a gray plastic. And then we have some red paint for the data inputs along with some metallic blue paint for the display. We also get some decent details here on the back. It would have been nice if the Marvel Legends team went ahead and painted that, but oh well. Now with this one gripping hand, Giant-Man can hold this, so we'll just kind of place this in. So now Giant-Man can act as if he's monitoring its growth.
That's what she said.
Taking a look at this mini Quinjet, it is a cool accessory. You can make it as though Giant-Man is just really giant, or you could pretend as if Hank Pym has shrunk this Quinjet with some Pym particles. We have some black paint for the wheels, the Avengers logo, and then we also have some metallic blue paint for the window. And even though Giant-Man here doesn't have a gripping hand, you can just kind of place this in his hand like so. But honestly, I'm kind of underwhelmed by this figure. I'm really glad to have it in my collection, but I think it could have been a whole lot better with a few tweaks here and there. Fortunately, the Wasp is a different story entirely. Oh, there you go, Janet, back from your mission. We're gonna put this guy away. Everything that I said about Giant-Man is the opposite for this Wasp figure. It is absolutely fantastic, at least in my opinion. We get a very beautiful sculpt for the face. Magnificent! I like how the exposed skin is a separate piece, so it really looks clean against the rest of the black cowl for her costume. Her eyes look absolutely stunning. I think that the digital printing came out really striking on this figure, and it looks like they just have so much life to them. I also like how we have this subtle hint of blush and eyeshadow, and then the lips are two tones and look very natural. As for the rest of the head sculpt, again, it's molded in this black plastic and it has a very good matte finish. These gray pieces on the side of her helmet are separate, and this one with the microphone headset is actually articulated, so you can move this any way that you want.
Now that's what I'm talking about!
A very great attention to detail. They didn't have to do that, but those tiny touches really come a long way. These plastic antennas molded in a gray plastic. They're thin, but they don't feel overly brittle, so I don't think you have to worry about these things breaking. And then we get this metallic blue-gray paint as we approach the tip of her head sculpt. I like that the middle of her chest is also a separate piece. It's molded in black plastic, but it really stands out against the rest of the red of her costume. Again, this detail here is something that would have been painted on just a few years ago. And sure, it would have looked decent, but it wouldn't have come out nearly this clean. Of course, we are going to get a little bit of a gap, but I would much rather have that than paint bleed. And then we get a W for the Wasp in that same metallic silverish blue. I like the matte finish that we're getting for the red portions of her costume. We have a similar matte finish on these black sleeves. This glove portion is molded in this same red plastic. The same goes for her fists. And we can also say the same thing for this skirt. I like how it accentuates her figure. The belt is also a separate piece, molded in black plastic, and then we get some silver paint for her Pym particles here. Her legs are completely molded in this black, and then we get our first sign of red paint for her boots, but we do see some of that black plastic coming through this red paint. It needed a few more coats to really get this thing covered, and then we get some basic female feet. Other than that, I absolutely love the way this figure looks. And this is an instance where I think the accessories, while few, make it even better. Of course, the Wasp comes with an extra pair of style posed hands. They pop on easily enough. And again, they're molded in that same red plastic, so everything matches here. Next up, we have the Wasp's iconic wing. We've gotten them before. It articulates on a basic swivel, nothing special, and then it has a peg here so that it can plug into the peg holes on Wasp's back. There we are. And then we're going to do the same on this side. Now I must say those wings really help this figure come to life. It completes the look. But we do have one more accessory to look at, and that's her Janet Van Dyne head sculpt. So we're just gonna pop this off, and then we are going to put this head sculpt on. Let's collapse these wings so we can really appreciate it. Everything that I said about the Wasp head sculpt, you can say about this Janet Van Dyne face as well. Very great digital printing. Those eyes are just as striking as before. And I like this retro style bob haircut she has. Very great sculpt. If I have a preference, I'm definitely going to display this figure with the Wasp head sculpt, just because I think it's way too good not to. However, I am curious to see if this Janet Van Dyne head sculpt fits on the other Wasp figure that we have in the Marvel Legends line. Ah, perfect timing. Let's take a break from our new Wasp figure. And the Marvel Legends team really has come a long way when it comes to their female head sculpts. I mean, just take a look at this compared to this.
Damn!
It's a night and day difference. So we're just gonna give it a pop. And then we are going to place this on, and I must say, I like the results. This is a major glow up for this figure. Now, quick disclaimer, I don't have this head popped all the way on. If we just kind of do that, it looked like Janet Van Dyne applied too many pimp articles to her neck. I need to stop. We're just gonna place this on her head just like halfway on. So it's not gonna go anywhere, but it still looks natural. There is going to be a major difference between the flesh colored plastic here and obviously the flesh colored paint that we get for her neck and chest area. However, from a distance, it doesn't look too bad. So certainly if you wanted to retire that old Wasp head sculpt in favor of this new one, it is an option for you if you have this figure. I also like that you could probably swap out these wings, which have a more pearlescent sheen to them. So let's see what that looks like. Not the biggest difference, but I do like the look of the white wings more on the more modern costume. And then I think those older wings really complements the red and black that we're getting on this figure. So it's definitely an option for those of you who are curious. And then quickly going over size comparisons, here's how Giant-Man and Wasp look next to the previous Retro Ant-Man and Retro Wasp. They're about the same size as other 6-inch lines like the G.I. Joe classified Cobra figures. Obviously, they're going to be dwarfed by anything in the McFarlane Spawn line. I think they look really cool next to the Power Rangers Lightning Collection Beast Morphers figures. Here they are next to some of my favorite figures, the original NECA Mirage comic Ninja Turtles with April O'Neil. Here they are next to a few Avengers-themed villains. We have Ultron, Thanos, and Kang the Conqueror. And then they'll fit right at home with a classic Avengers display. And then finally, here's how they look under black light. I do like the glow the wings on Wasp are giving off. So as for my final thoughts, this set has a whole lot of good and a whole lot of eh. The only newly sculpted parts to this 6-inch Giant-Man is his head and maybe his belt. Everything else is reuse. So I really don't understand how the Haslab price would have increased that much if he was included in the base offering or as a stretch goal, especially when considering the minimal effort put into this guy. Wasp, on the other hand, is fantastic. She is the reason why you're going to want to buy this set. Everything about her is amazing. The head sculpts are perfect, the body is perfect, the articulation is superb. Everything is pinless on this set. And the only reason why I'm happy the Wasp wasn't included in that Haslab is because now she'll be available to everyone who wants her. And it would be a shame to miss out, especially when the figure is this good. When the Marvel Legends team is firing on all cylinders, figures like the Wasp are what you get. So ultimately, the Wasp is going to be driving this purchase. With that said, I'd jump on this set as soon as you can. I can easily see this 2-pack costing as much as the Giant-Man Haslab on the aftermarket if this thing were to sell out. But that'll do it for this review. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. Did you pick this set up? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and please share my video if you like what I'm doing here. It really does help out a lot. Stick around for a gallery at the end, and as always, collect responsibly.